All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Woodworkers Guild. It's great to see everybody. Beautiful weather out there, and it's actually a good time of the year to get some woodworking done, don't you guys think? Open up your windows, and for me, the shop, open up the shop door, and it's a good time. Welcome to you all online, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or I think those are the main two. So welcome everybody who's watching. Do we have any visitors tonight? First, anybody visiting for the first time? Great to have you. Anybody first time new members tonight? Any new members? Well, the visitors, you guys will be new members next time. So we love the guild here. We think we have the best deal in town. I think. Once you see what we have to offer, I think it's great to be a member here. I know I've enjoyed it for quite a few years since about 2007, since I moved back to Kansas City. So the thing that everyone wants to know: how are we doing on our shop update? Since our last meeting, we actually had a great prospect that we went and toured, and we actually started negotiating on a lease with them, and as of now, they look like they're going to go to somewhere else. So we kind of lost that. We had another list of properties that we weren't as interested in. So the one we went after, it's not necessarily slammed shut, but it doesn't look good. So we're still out there looking. So if you all think of some place that is suitable, it's got to have enough space. And just so you all know, we're looking for 11,000 to 18,000 square feet. We got to be able to afford it, and I put in the newsletter you all, so we could probably expect that our dues are going to go up. So hopefully that doesn't shock everybody. And once we figure out where we're going, maybe we can figure out how that will work. And then we need to have parking. It needs to be safe. It needs to be in a central part of town. We need to be in a part of town where everyone feels good about going there. You don't want to go in and have to lock the door behind you, or get a security guard. So I mean, there's parts of the area that we don't want to go. So there's some criteria out there. I'm sure there's a great spot, and we are working hard on it. So I wish I had a better update, but that's where we are. Now's the time we go through our officers meetings, and you guys are lucky because most everyone said there's nothing to report. So we're going to buzz through. There was nothing from Ron Hall, nothing from David Roth, nothing from Craig. John Steyer, we are paying our bills. We're looking good now. So everyone who volunteers and helps with projects, thank you very much. That really helps the Guild. It makes a huge impact on our bottom line. So thank you. Chuck, you have anything for sale back there today? Are you going to sell John Steyer? Is that what you were saying? Oh, we've got some plywood down there, good project plywood. So go back and see Chuck. Get some stuff. He'll make you a great deal. Brian, anything from the communications committee? Newsletter. I appreciate the newsletter again, Ron, and I'm not sure if Steven made it back in town and helped, but Ron and Steve do an amazing job with Ron's leadership on the newsletter. And I appreciate all of you who contributed. And if you got something out there, you want to let us know what you're doing. If it's a quick article about your project you're working on, or something you're doing in your shop, maybe a shop upgrade, or just your thoughts about woodworking. Love to see your articles. Don's got magazines and books to sell. I don't want to presume, but I bet you've got 25 cents for a magazine, 5 for $1, and books for $1. And I bet there's some good stuff back there. Getting a phone call, doggone it. My son, he doesn't know that I should put him on here, huh? FaceTiming me. Hey, did you realize I'm running the Woodworkers Guild meeting? Everybody say hi, Ben. So I'll call you later. All right. Love you. Bye. My son's a senior at Arkansas, so woo pig suey. I've only got one semester to pay for left. That's what's really I'm proud about. So, a couple things. Social media, you can check us out on Facebook. The Guild has a Facebook page. We also have a Facebook group. Some pretty good interaction. Instagram, I know that there's been some posts. I post from time to time on Instagram. So if you're doing projects and you're so inclined, please tag the Guild and let everyone know what you're working on. YouTube channel. There's great videos there. I will also get a plug for our man Tom Smoller. He's got a YouTube channel called Papa's Workshop. But check out the Guild page, and all of our meetings get posted. We have a lot of catalog in our podcast that have been posted. So a lot of good stuff. I think I've made it through most of the podcasts, but I bet there's a few more Woodwords, the podcast, that I need to catch up on and watch. Subscribe to the channel, like, all those things. We're a bunch of crusty old guys. Some of us crustier than others, but we can be on the modern day internet age as well. Chris, you just put out something about L&K and Mill and Grill meet and greet toy drive.
Yep. So on October 14th, if I'm reading my calendar right, we are doing L&K's Mill and Grill. We've done that before a couple times. It's really popular. This is the kickoff to their toy drive. Every year, this is the 3rd annual toy drive for L&K. This year, they're also adding winter clothing. So you can either bring a unwrapped toy or winter clothing, bring it to L&K. They will get it to I think a foundation they work with to make sure that they're distributed appropriately. But Larry will be milling up some logs, and he's always a good conversation if you can get him out of his shell. No, Larry is a great conversation. Cammie has some great food. I think they've asked we bring desserts and the toys. So look forward to seeing everyone there. It's always a lot of fun. We have a great time, and this is the kickoff to their season. If you can't make the Guild Mill and Grill, they're doing another one in October, I believe. That's actually going to be like a house concert, and they're going to have a food truck there and stuff. So that's a fun one too.
Awesome. And then, Chris, you forgot to say that you're always looking for help in the AV department. So if anybody's got some talent, or not even that much talent, just a willingness to help out, Chris could use her hand.
Anything from helping you run cameras to holding microphones during the meeting, like tonight with the meeting. It's important everyone uses a microphone if they have a question. That way our presenter can hear them. And even stuff that if you want to sit at home and watch through the YouTube channels, I need to catalog and update the descriptions. So that's something you can do from home and not have to even do anything during the meetings. So that'd be a huge help to catalog and update the descriptions and information on the videos we currently have to make it easier for people to find stuff.
Awesome. We could use your help. Going down the list, membership and Jim Berard reports, we're currently at 957 members. So, hey, and then 2 more after tonight when our visitors join. So, awesome. Good job, Jim. I didn't know he was here. He just showed his face, which, scared me for a second. Yeah, he popped out of his hole over there. Moving down the list, so Matt, programs. So Matt's in charge of programs. What's the name of the gentleman we have tonight? Come on up and pre-introduce.
Green? White? Eric Hollenbeck. I'm sorry, Hollenbeck. I missed an opportunity to go visit with him in Eureka, California. We were out there in Portland, and it just didn't work out. It's not a really short drive from Portland down to Eureka, so I just didn't get the opportunity to go down there. But I'm really looking forward to listening to him and visiting with him tonight. He's done a lot of good out there, and I think he's kind of like an inspiration for us to what we could do in the long run with the Guild. And then in this is September, October. Person from the National Museum of Miniatures and Toys will be here to give the presentation that night. So, yeah, she wrote a contract with me this time. And then there's a good possibility we'll have an artist from one of the wood carvers, his brother, so he may be here in November. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, half the programs I get anymore come from your suggestions. I used to go to Kansas City Star because they covered everybody in town. Boy, it was easy when it was with the Kansas City Star. I don't live in Kansas City, so you guys that do or anywhere near, if you got connections or you got somebody that's interesting that you might think would be a good program, maybe they make business cards out of wood or whatever. Give me a call and give me a buzz on email, and I'll check them out. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Matt. Moving down the list, Steve, is Steve Vinny here for safety? So nothing to report there. He's always looking for people to join the safety committee. That meeting is held the second Tuesday of the month at 7. Safety is important in everything that we do in the shop. So if you're so inclined, please jump in and help out. Rough to ready. John, do you have anything to report? Come on, got to get yourself in front of the camera.
Last month we had requested people to step up to instructing with Rough to Ready, and we fantastically got 6 volunteers, which is super.
Awesome. Thank you to all those volunteers.
Yeah, and 2 of those people have gone through the process of orientation. and they are Mr. Tom Smaller and also Alex Mosley, who I don't think Alex is here with us tonight. But anyway, thank you both for that, and thanks to the other four too. So we have as you just said, an awesome crew going down the rough to ready path. So thank you.
Yeah, that is awesome. Thanks all of you volunteers. Dwayne sponsorship, you've got raffle stuff back there. So you've got 8 items to raffle. So during the break, if you haven't, go buy tickets, and Megan will be happy to set you up back there, and you'll win awesome prizes. David Roth is not here, so we have better chances of winning. So unless I haven't seen David. So and as far as training, I spoke with Kevin a little bit to keep an eye out for the classes that are out there. Back by popular demand and because people have stepped up, we do have our skill builders coming back in October and November. So what's October?
October is
I'll just take this one.
the October is Craig Arnold on how to sell for Etsy.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you,
And
Craig.
then we got
Working on Etsy.
Some guy named Hobbs is taking care of the November.
Yeah, he sounds rough.
And I just signed up tonight Tom Smoller to give us in December
Car-
the Newport show.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, the one that I'm going to do in November is going to walk through the process of, let's say you had a piece of furniture you wanted to copy, and you had a little bit of time with it. How would you take your measurements, make your patterns, all that kind of stuff, so that when you went back to your shop, you would have the information that you needed. So that's what I'm going to talk about in November. That's something that I've done a handful of times over my time that I've been building furniture. And I think that pretty much the end of our officers' reports. So the SIGs, I'm going to run through the SIGs real quick, which are our special interest groups. Hand tool group meets the fourth Sunday of the month from 2 to 4. Do we have, Wayne, what's going on this month? So if you couldn't hear, inlay of a compass rose on a box that you're doing. So that's awesome. I've done that before. I probably could have used your training because I was a little bit of learning by, what do you say? Yeah, make some mistakes and work through it. Trial and error. That's what I'm trying to think of. Wood carving SIG is the fourth Tuesday of the month from 6 to 4. So the next one is September 26th. Anything special? Same.
Very skilled people, but basically power carving, traditional carving, and pyrography.
Yeah, power carving, traditional carving, and pyrography. So you got people with great skill, people if you're a beginner, if you need to, anything you can think of, come on in and enjoy and carve together, and they can help you, or you can help people. That's a good time to get together. The next SIG is the laser engravers. Curtis Alexander leads that group, and that's the fourth Wednesday of the month at 7. That's September 27th. Craig, do you want to come talk about what's going on there? Come on up. Curtis, I'm sorry. I was calling you Craig.
Yeah, that's an insult.
That's rough.
Anyway, we're excited about having this next.
You got to get on camera.
Yeah, all right. Next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, and so excited that we're going to have a presentation for one of our own members here that's really efficient in both CNC and the laser, and he's got a project that he's done with both items and both tools, and he's going to demonstrate that to us this Wednesday night and show us a comparison and how he went about doing it, the two different ways. So that should be exciting. And then also, if you're interested in being trained on the laser. Of course, show up for the SIG, and right after the SIG's over with, we will offer training for that night.
Very cool. Thank you, Curtis. And again, I apologize mixing up your name. Scroll Saw SIG is October 11th. That meets the second Wednesday of the month at 7. George or John, you guys have anything else to say? Come on out and do some scrolling. Come on out and do some scrolling. That's it, okay? These guys will set you up. That's amazing things that can be made on the scroll saw. And then the last SIG is the CNC group led by Gary Milkey and Ed Stewart. Meets the third Tuesday of the month from 6:30 to 7. So the next one is October 17th. Gary, do you have anything you want to announce? Come on down. If you want to learn or demonstrate or just sit back and, admire the work that you guys can do on the CNC. So sounds good. Not too bad. It's 18 minutes through that. That's not bad, right, Craig? And so now we can get to the part that is always my favorite, the show and tell. So if you have a show and tell piece, go ahead and line up. And then Jim, if you want to come down and take over and lets everybody show what you've been working on. Yeah, and don't forget, when you're done with your show and tell, Matt has a ticket, and we do a drawing. If you bring in a show and tell, you're drawing for a prize. What's the prize? It's a $25 gift card, or is it? It's cold hard cash. That always works. So, yeah, that's incentive. So all of you that have something you've been thinking about, man, I should bring it in, I should not. Man, you might win some money. So bring it in. We'd love to see it. All right. Mr. Bainey.
Thank you. So who's first? Come on up. Wow. Okay, tell us about this.
Okay, this is a Raven. I took a class with Dan to learn how to do this. I've been doing that for a while with him, but this one, it took a little more skill than what I've done in the past. So a number of times that I had to add feathers in to hide different aspects in it, and it's made of Tupelo wood. It's all carved, it's hollow, so it's a lot lighter than the actual base, which is an actual post that I just cut off.
Is some farmer missing a fence post?
Maybe. So that's
And
it.
some barbed wire.
Yeah. The barbed wire was already on it, so I didn't even have to do anything with that.
So why did you choose to do a Raven?
It was part of the class.
Oh, okay. Not a crow.
No, that's a lot bigger than a crow. Yeah. I just figure it's a good Halloween, something to put out for Halloween decoration.
You better secure it.
Secure it? It's going to fly away?
No, somebody's going to take it. So what did you finish this with?
It's acrylic. I use airbrush, and so you start with undercoats of, you can see there are blues and greens and reds in it if you look up closely, and you start with those colors, and then you lay, it's not really black. You're using, the only thing that uses black is the head. The rest of it is not black. It's a mixture of colors.
So that is the way they really look?
I hope so.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about this? Yes.
On a scale of 1 to never again, how difficult is it?
On On a scale of 1 to 10,
It's
how
pretty
difficult?
difficult.
12?
No, it's not. Maybe an 8.
Okay. What do you got planned for the future?
The next thing is an owl. It's just a small, northern saw-whet owl, and so they're only about 8.5, 9 inches. So something smaller this time. But I'm having a hard time getting myself the gumption.
Motivated?
Yeah. I just haven't been into it. So it'll come when the weather starts getting cooler than it is now.
Okay. Anybody got any questions about this? Dan, what do you think?
The feet, are those carved as well, or are those like a separate add-on?
They're actually epoxy, 2-part epoxy.
Okay.
So you use that, you mold it as much as you can, and then carve what you
Very
can.
cool.
And then under it is it's just copper wire.
And then, so I know no one ever wants to answer how long it took, but when did you start the project, and how many months till you finished it? Yeah, is it like a 6-month project or a 3-month project?
It was probably about 5, 6 months, something like that. The easiest part is the painting. The painting only took 4 days. So once you get it carved,
Home free.
yeah, you're home free.
Awesome. Great project. Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Say it again.
So it's actually extremely light because it is hollow. So before you start doing a lot of any of the detail work, once you get the basic shape, you essentially cut it in half, and then hollow it out and put it back together. Why? For support. Yeah. No. It's you're taking over half of the weight away from it, and so you're not having to worry about having as much support holding it. So that's the entire reason for it.
Any other questions? Thanks. That's an awesome project. Wow. Okay, George, you next. No, you talk about yours.
Okay, as normal, I brought some puzzles. One of them is a tree that is supposed to be in the wind and everything. It probably has been the most difficult one for me to cut and put together. The only way I've been able to put it together is to use the frame. I have not been able to do it just freestanding. The second one I have is a mermaid, and
This way a little bit further. This way.
oh,
There you go.
and here pretty soon it's going to be going up to Boise. My best friend, his granddaughter wanted one, so I have to make her one. Now I need to make 2 more for the 2 grandsons.
Okay, so did you do that here?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a testament to the quality of the machines here.
Oh yeah, the DeWalt scroll saws are excellent, I think.
Okay. Any questions for George about these puzzles? I've got a couple of your puzzles, and my grandsons still play with them.
Well, good.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to make it?
Took me probably about 3 hours to cut out the tree probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours for the mermaid. And then I've spent that much time again just sanding it and gluing on the backer board and finishing it up.
Is there a finish on this?
No, there is no finish. I don't finish them for the simple reason is one, I painted the wrong color. And two, I feel like the wood is probably safer for the kids than a lot of the finishes. So, yes, Megan.
How many puzzles or how many pieces per puzzle?
Most of the time I don't count, but the tree does have 21 pieces. So, and I know I have some that have more pieces than that, but it's because of the way it was cut and everything that it was a challenge.
Any other questions? Thanks, George. Oh, another question.
Working off of a photograph, or are you drawing the lines yourself?
This one, Mermaid, I got from a book that I have that have all different types of puzzles. This one I got out of the Scroll Saw magazine that I receive, I think 4 times a year. That magazine has been excellent. I've made a lot of puzzles out of it, and the good thing about that book magazine also is it covers other areas of the scroll saw, like intarsia, marquetry, just a lot of different areas that you can do with a scroll saw.
Any other questions? Thank you, George. Nice work. Who's next? Hi, Wayne.
Hello, Jim. Simple little project. If you remember when Taylor Toolworks was here, he sells a kit for basically a coping saw. It's real easy, kind of a fun afternoon type project. So that's it. Use some of the Australian wood. If you start using that, be ready to sharpen when you're done.
Eucalyptus?
It was one of the ones, you know, it was all a mess by the time I got here, and I have no idea what the
It's
hell
probably
it is.
what it is, because eucalyptus is probably 90% of what was here.
Yeah. So, yep.
Looks like walnut.
Yeah, it's nice. Feels pretty nice too. But yeah, it's a fun, easy project to do. So.
They're gonna teach a class on that?
cut shapes. It's the most complicated thing is there's 2 mortise and tenons in there, and that's it. I mean, that's the project. You know, nothing to it. So
So you will teach a class.
talk to me later.
I think I heard you say yes.
Yeah. There's not
Any other
much.
questions? So are you going to use this?
Oh yeah. My coping saw was bought at Sutherland's 40 years ago or whatever. I don't know, so long ago, and it never did work well. So yeah.
So there's an advantage to having a handle on both ends?
Oh, that's just the way it
Yeah,
comes.
but as opposed to a regular coping saw with a handle on one end,
Yeah.
this works a lot better?
Well, I think you can get this tight.
Oh, okay.
You can get, so yeah.
Awesome.
But yep, that's the way the kit came, so I wasn't gonna reinvent the wheel. So
Okay.
okay.
Thank you. Roger? Okay, so last week or last month you
This is
brought
the
in
last piece.
Okay.
It is finished, and we got a slideshow. Okay. Yeah. So this is the center door and the left door, and he just left the building. What's that about?
Maybe he didn't pay his dues.
The secretary is done. I do have an iPad over there with pictures of it. You can slide through the different pictures. It's a huge piece. It's just too big to bring in, and that's the picture's got me in it, so you can see 8.5 feet tall, 4 foot wide, 2 foot deep. And it's taken me a year to do. And there's about 200 board feet of lumber in this, and about 75 of it's secondary wood, which was maple and poplar. There's $2,000 worth of brass hardware on it.
Where did you get your brass hardware from?
Ball and ball.
Okay.
And these hinges on the outsides of the doors had to be special made because they have to stick out from the case 3/4 of an inch. So those were the most expensive pieces. And also that they had problems making them, so we had 3 tries before we got them right.
So you had to, they manufactured them
Yes.
according to your specifications?
Yes, I sent them a drawing and they made it.
Chris,
They said
you
there
ready?
was $500 worth of brass in those 4 hinges.
Wow.
So these doors, when they're closed, it looks like that. So it's supposed to look like there's a stile in between there, but it's the door.
Okay. You want to narrate through this video?
Yeah, it's just a short. So there's the original and then mine.
Here you got it. There you go. Keep it right up.
Yeah, the original was made around 1770, so this is 250 years later. And of course, theirs was all done out of mahogany, Cuban mahogany. So, but you can see there's a lot of detail. This took forever. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I did it, but it took a lot longer than I thought. It's just a huge piece. It took almost a month just to put the finish on everything. There's 17 drawers inside the desk and 3 down below. And of course, they all have dovetailed.
What'd you use for finish?
There's an aniline dye on there first to darken it a little bit and kind of even it out.
The color?
And then a bunch of coats of shellac, probably 6 to 8 coats, and then rubbed out and some more coats until it got pretty smooth. And then
how did you apply the shellac?
I sprayed some things. I brushed the little drawers and stuff. I was brushing. I had it downstairs, but most of it I sprayed. And then the final rub out, get the shininess off it, and then I put a dark brown wax that gets in the cracks and makes it look older. So, and then kind of buff to whatever after that. So.
Okay, Chris. Is it done? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it was just a short little deal.
Okay.
So, like I said, I got pictures on the iPad you can look through, too.
Any questions?
You say paint? Yeah, okay. You say you rubbed it out. Did you use steel wool or pumice?
Well, the synthetic steel wool, the Scotch Brights, the grays and the whites, to kind of get it all. I mean, after the first couple 3 coats, I'll rub it out. That's usually the first coat's usually the roughest. It kind of raises the grain a little bit, and after that, it's usually pretty smooth. So.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The origin of the design.
Hey, microphone, please. Behind you.
I was curious about the origin of the design.
I did this all from the pictures. There's 9 of these secretaries that are in existence still. and only one of them is privately owned. The rest are all in museums, so there's all pictures online, and they're all a little bit different, both in size and the bonnet top usually is what they differ the most in. And I contacted the museum, and they were kind enough to send me high-resolution pictures, with some of it where it was apart, and the back, and those kinds of things. So that really helped. So then I scaled everything off of the dimensions, the overall dimensions that they gave me, and scaled everything from that. So it's probably not perfect as matches to what, because pictures kind of, especially something this tall, it distorts like even my pictures, it makes the bonnet top look really, really tall, and it really isn't that tall.
More questions? Yes, sir.
What do you call the top? Are those like a seashell or a scallop, or what do they call that?
Are you talking about
the shells?
Yeah.
This area
these
right
are,
here?
These are Newport shells. So the four areas in that time frame for furniture making hubs was Newport, Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. And Newport was known for these shells. They created this. This is purely an American piece.
So it's hard to see from back here, but the left one looks like it's raised.
Right.
And the one on
the two outside doors are raised. This is called blocking, and it follows all the way down the piece. So all the other drawers, the desktop, same thing. The two outside ones are raised. The one in the center is lowered by the same amount, and it's a mirror image all the way down. And all of that has to line up, even the molding at the bottom where the curves meet, everything has to line up all the way down. And that's everything is related in this thing. It's you can't change one thing and make it
So
work.
did you do that by hand carving, or?
Pretty much, yeah. No CNC, no laser.
So
I use
Attaboy.
machines. I'm not an idiot. I use machines as much as I can. But when I can't, we have to do it by hand.
So if I understand you correctly, if the hinges were going the other way, and the door on the right would go into the door on the left?
This is the center door.
Yes.
And that's all carved. That's one board. That whole door, everything on that door is one board. So I had to cut the shell, carve the shell, and cut the recess.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. So
I used a router to get it down to the base there, and then had to take carving tools and make the curve. And of course, it's got to be sharp at the bottom where they join. And these outside doors, it's a frame, and the shell and this blocking is applied or glued on. And that's the way the original. I tried to do the way the original was as much as I could.
Yes, sir.
Hi, fantastic piece. What do you intend to do with it?
It's going to stay right where it is because it's very heavy, and I'm going to look at it every day.
Excellent.
In that regard, what do you
My
got?
my wife is afraid to put anything in it. I mean, you got this beautiful bookcase and all these desk drawers. She doesn't want to put anything in it.
In that regard, Tom, what have you got planned for the future now that you
I don't
you've got
really
a
know.
history of doing?
It was such a fun project, but I'm really relieved that it's done. And it's like, what do you do next? So
Okay.
right now, I'm just kind of cleaning the shop up and taking the scraps, trying to make some Christmas gifts. Because I save every scrap when I'm doing a project. I save everything in case I need another piece.
200 board feet, and you've got scrap left over?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's about, I've got a bill of material on the spreadsheet. There's like 350 pieces to this.
Wow.
And if anybody's interested in coming to see it in person, let me know. We'll work something out. So.
Any other questions?
13, to be exact. What kind of wood did you use?
What wood?
What kind of wood?
This is out of cherry. I've got a lot of cherry. I bought, 400 or 500 board feet of cherry a while back. So I had lots of it. And do it out of the mahogany, especially the mahogany that they would have used, would have been very expensive.
Would have made your hinges
And
look
I'm
cheap.
already in 2,000 on the hardware and probably another 15, 16 on the wood.
Did you diagram that out after you got your pictures on
I've
graph
got,
paper, or
I've got
what?
full drawings. I spent a month researching all 9 of these, and I picked this particular one because I liked the top, and it also has a well, what they call on the desk, where you can slide up a door open and get into the top drawer when the desk is open. I thought that was cool. I thought I was going to put like an iPads and stuff in there, but as it turns out it's so far in, it's not very practical. Which is probably why not a lot of them had it.
No iPads back then.
Yeah. So.
Very cool.
One more question here. On the other 9 you researched, were they all made by the same manufacturer?
They
or
they don't really know for sure. None of the pieces are signed or dated. And of the 9, there's like 3 groups of 3 that are similar. Each 3 set is somewhat similar, and the one that's kind of the sister one to this one, it has a signed tag on the back of it. I think it was 1813 that said it was manufactured by John Goddard, and his repaired by his son, and they think it's the son that wrote that on there. So they're pretty sure that one was done by John Goddard. They all kind of are attributed to John Goddard or his shop. But the 3 later ones that have rosettes at the top of the bonnet top, was more popular in Providence than it was in Rhode Island. So there's some that are thinking that it might have been a John Goddard student or relative that built it in Providence, or for someone in Providence. So.
Any more questions?
And then the tallest one of these sold for $12 million in like 1987. And it's 9.5 feet tall. And that one's, you can't get any pictures of that one.
That's the private one?
Huh?
That one would be the private one?
Yeah, that's the privately
Okay.
owned. All the rest you can get pictures. And I was going to say about the drawings, I spent a month researching, and I got 10 sheets of drafting paper, trying to get as much as I could life size. So I got that. So if someone is interested, but it's going to take you a while.
More questions? Thanks, Tom.
I had one more question.
Okay.
Tom, I noticed that yours didn't show clawfoot. And of the pictures that the museum sent you, or were there any that were created with clawfoot base?
Were there any of those 9 created with clawfoot bases?
No, they all had, the feet were similar on all of these. It's called a bracket foot. Some of them had more decorative. What they think of the earlier ones had more decorative feet. But no finials, no corner column. So, like I said, they're all a little different.
Okay. That answer your question? Thank you. John?
Well, after that, I'd like to share with you an example of what a mere mortal woodworker does. Are we ready, Chris? Yep. This was a cabinet that my daughter sent me a picture of. That's not what I built. That's what she provided. And next. So I started with the idea of doing the outside panels or shells, and going with the methodology that Mike Jones had used when he made his ostentorium for one of the Catholic parishes in the area. I built this MDF form and used it thusly. That's 3/4 inch walnut plywood that was curved. There's 60 curves in each quarter circle, if you will. And I did that with the track saw. It worked real well. And then after it was bent over the form, I applied a layer of veneer glued that on and strapped it down as shown here. And that's how it came out. And so there was 2 of those, obviously, mirror images of each other. Then moving on to the face frame, you might notice the eclectic collection of different woods there. Those were going to be sample pieces that I did on the CNC, routing the arc or the arch on the top of the cabinet. And that included a rabbet in the back of it to accept a stub tin in the wood in that was cut on the edge of the panels I just showed you. And moving vastly forward, you can see in the back of that glue up that the face frame is in place and the shelves are being glued on into just one half. I did it a half at a time. So it's going into the left-hand shell, if you will. And then very simply, I applied the second shell to it. And the shelves are dominoed in place. In fact, there's a whole lot of dominoes in this thing. Those are the little stubby legs. You might have noted on the original that she sent me a picture of. It had kind of spindly legs that looked like they thought, oh, shoot, we forgot to put legs on this thing, so we'll tack them on the outside. So she and I collaborated on the idea of incorporated them into the face frame. So next picture shows, if you look at the, let's see, that would be looking at it this way, the front right one, the leg has been applied to the face frame that wraps all the way around the front. And the little spindly things in the back are what I call the back brace that goes inside inside the shell panels. And so the legs are yet to be applied to those or glued onto the other 3 legs. And there it is in standing form. Next, Chris. Then I moved on to the doors themselves, and that's an example of a quarter circle that was created on the CNC machine again. And then from there we started fitting the doors together. And that's a dry fit. Glued them up. And that's set in there without any hinge attachment at this point, but pretty good fit. A lot of fiddling, as is always the case, to get the doors to go in the opening. And there they are with the rails installed. And you can see there the rabbet on the back of the door to accommodate the glass stops. I decided to use wood stops to hold the glass in place. I got the glass made at Westport Glass down on Southwest Boulevard. And there they are with the doors attached by way of the brass hinges. My hardware cost about $27. And if you look real close there, you can see the wood stops, quarter round stops used to hold the glass in place. Ultimately, I used number 2 brass screws to hold it in, so heaven forbid that tempered glass would get broken. The stops can be removed to replace the glass. And those are the handles that daughter Claire chose. And that's really hard to see from here, but that's a spring-loaded magnet catch that Craig had recommended that I use. It's similar to the one in the cabinet between the 2 saws in the back of the room. In fact, it's identical to that. Worked great. And so these are a couple finished pictures of the piece installed at my daughter's house. Took it up to Chicago 2 weeks ago. And yeah, that's if you wonder what's sticking out on the left side there, that's a wine rack that they had on the wall, and they had not moved that before I got there, so it's kind of jammed up against the door, but it'll ultimately be centered on that wall. It is a full 7 feet tall, and so it was no small feat to get it down the hallway of the old condo she lives in up there. And that's a sign that says, I couldn't read it on my screen, but it says, "Thank you, Dad." So that's my payment for making the thing.
How long did it take you to work on that?
Well, months, yeah. No, I started in January and finished first of this month. So yeah, it's about just over 300 hours. Because I'm slow.
What'd you finish it with?
The finish is trans-tint dye, dark mahogany, trans-tint dye, or dark brown. I think it's dark brown, isn't it? Trans-tint? No, it was. It was just the water-based dye. I thought it was called dark mahogany, and then on top of that is the Seal-A-Cell to use as a sealer, and then Candlelight General Finishes gel stain on top of that, and finally I sprayed it with Enduro oil and poly, which is my favorite go-to simple finish these days. So. And, it's kind of a complicated system, but unfortunately I started with that when I started making her furniture 8 years ago, and she's got about 3 or 4 other pieces that I've done, and they're all that color, so, and they're all walnut, so we tried to keep it consistent.
Questions?
Okay, thank you.
John, that is an awesome project. I saw it when you had it partially done here. All right, am I the last one? Oh, okay. Come on up.
Okay, you probably recognize this piece. It's the plant stand. That's one of the 3 projects you complete in the process of the basic woodworking class here at the Guild. If anybody is on the fence about taking that class, I highly encourage it. I thought that it was something I probably wouldn't get much out of, but I decided to take it anyway, and I'm really glad I did. For example, there's 10 people that are in the class with me, and in the process of going through those 10 weeks, we learned quite a bit. We learned quite a bit from each other, as well as from the instructor. So it's really good class. One challenge this thing presented for me was the mortise and tenon joints. Before, I had not completed anything with a mortise and tenon joint, and this one has 32 of them. And another challenge was the way it's designed. You have to glue everything all at once. The structural parts are the legs and the stretchers. The spindles are not glued, but you have to glue everything all at once. So that was one challenge to get everything done. It required us to dry fit everything about a dozen times to make sure everything's all right before you apply the glue. Any questions about this one?
What do you use for finish?
The finish is Rubio Monocoat Oil Plus 2C Pure.
Okay.
It's red oak, so it allowed the wood grain to show through really nice.
So is this a gift to your wife?
It was, yes. She was very appreciative.
I bet.
And I made the mistake of showing a picture of this to my sisters, and so they're expecting one of these for Christmas now.
That's the bad part, isn't it? Tough part. Any questions about this project, Gary's project here? So you'd highly recommend, this is the Rough to Ready class?
This is the beginning woodworking class.
Oh, okay.
It's a 10-week class. It's very good. Norman did a great job with it. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
All right, so my comment is that when you leave the beginning woodworking class, you're no longer a beginner.
Yeah.
You're an intermediate woodworker, and this is indicative of what you can continue to do and build on your skills from there. So anybody on the fence, like you said, take that class.
Thanks, Craig.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm the last one. My neighbor came over to me and asked me if I'd build a box to put a knife in. His son is a he's in the Israeli army, and they've made him a chef, and he travels around a lot, and so he wanted a box to be able to put this thing in. Anyway, I made it's out of walnut, and I started out thinking, well, I'm going to make a bandsaw box. Then I changed my mind, so I took a blank piece and I cut the top and I cut the bottom. I took the middle out. I took a Forstner bit on each side and drilled a 2-inch hole, and then put a guide on with a router bit and a bearing, and took the rest of it out. So I didn't have to make the side cut for a bandsaw box. Then I struggled with putting that felt in. I don't know if I'd do that again. Anyway, I finished it with Ole's oil. So his sister is going back to Israel in a couple of weeks, and it's going back with her. So I promised him that I'd have it done before then, and I made that deadline. Any questions? Thanks.
Jim, I actually have one. I actually have one more project.
Okay.
I think I have some pictures.
Okay.
So go back a couple of pictures. One more. So this is. We'll do that just real quick. So I made you may have seen me talk about this in the past, but this is a live edge coffee table. You know, everything I make is period. My wife is always like, man, I don't want our house to look all like a museum. So I had these chunks. These are 2 chunks of mahogany. They were 2 slabs out of one big crotch, and they were all checked up and knotty and punky and everything. So I joined those together. I got them flattened at Casey Custom Hardwoods, which just did a rough flattening. And honestly, I thought it was going to be easier than it was. It was a very difficult project. I basically had I had a lot of problems with getting the epoxy. There were so many cracks and occlusions and stuff that I had trouble keeping the epoxy from leaking out. So that took probably most of a week just doing it and then finding out what leaked out and coming back. If you look at the first picture, Chris, you go the other way. One more. You see all that? You could see all that epoxy and all those. It was basically, you could drop a cat through those holes. So I filled a lot of epoxy there, and that was a new thing for me. And getting it flat, it was kind of tough because it was really punky. So I ended up putting some epoxy in it, and it did a lot better. But then I had just the finishing process was relatively easy once I got my arms around the epoxy. And then the base I knocked out in an afternoon. That was some poplar I had left over, so I just kind of did a mortise and tin and X frame underneath it. And I finished it with water locks. I did about 5 or 6 coats of water locks because I wanted to be able to put a drink on it, and not have to worry about it. And buffed it out with like an automotive polish because I didn't want any wax sitting on it. And turned out pretty good, and I think it actually looks kind of cool in our family room. So there it is.
Any questions about Cal's coffee table? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Cal, what kind of epoxy did you use?
It was called. So I got it from David Roth. And I think it was called liquid glass. Does that sound right to anybody? I think that's what it's called.
You didn't have problems with bubbles and.
Not really. I had some, and that's some of the part of going back and repairing where it bubbled and things like that. I actually was experimenting, and I took those trans tint dyes, and mine was dark walnut, and I dyed the epoxy. I didn't want it to be black, so I wanted it to be dark brown, so I dyed the epoxy just I knew about how much I put in a cup, and you measured out the drops like, Craig Arnold would do. And it worked out pretty good.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
When you put the epoxy down and it dries, is it rough on the surface and you have to sand it or plane it to get it smooth and then polish it?
Yeah, it's not rough, but it's not, you pour it a little bit high, and then you can come back and use hand tools, with a scraper or a hand plane. Scraper works better than the hand plane, but yeah, I tried to do as much as I could scraping it before I sanded it.
On the bottom side where you want to catch the epoxy so it doesn't drip out, what do you use down there?
Well, I used Tyvek tape. At first I used packing tape, and some of that worked and some of it didn't. Then I went and got some Tyvek tape that worked in some spots and some others, and then I would redo it. Once I got a base of epoxy underneath, then it would hold. But I did it in layers, so I knew that I was experimenting, so I would go, the top is about 2.5 inches thick. So I would go, a 1/4 inch and see if I could establish a base. That way I knew it was waterproof for the next, or liquid proof, I guess.
So you just buff out the tape lines that are on the bottom?
Yeah, I think I knocked them down. The bottom, I didn't even put a finish on the bottom. I just knocked off the rough spots, and you can go in there and lay under, and you can see all the mess underneath. So I just knocked it down relatively flat with hand tools.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Thanks, Cal. Nice job.
All right. We'll take a quick break, and let's make the break relatively quick. Yeah, maybe a 5-minute break, and then we'll come down and have our program. Thanks, everyone, for the great projects. Thanks for bringing them in.
Hope somebody has a grandkid that they want to have solve.
Your safety and the safety of all members when using any of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's hand or power tools is the #1 concern your safety committee and the board of directors of the Guild. Nearly every woodworking project will need to be sized and smoothed by one of the Guild's power surface planers. Currently, we have 2 planers in service and available for the membership to use. One is a 15-inch jet planer and the other a 20-inch grizzly planer. Hi. My name is Christine Kessler, and welcome to the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Today, we will cover the safety rules and requirements of the Guild's power surface planers and how to safely operate these machines. Keep in mind that this video is targeted to only cover the operational safety points of our power surface planers and is not designed to be a complete training program in the use of these machines. A power surface planer is used to smooth and dimension your lumber to the final thickness needed to construct your project. Both of the planers currently in the Guild inventory have helical cutting heads that smooth the top of any boards fed into the machine. Each of the machines have an adjustable table that raises and lowers to allow you to plane lumber, making multiple passes to a very accurate and specific thickness and smoothness. Remember, when you are in the shop, please direct any questions about using our planers and any of the other Guild equipment to the on-duty shop foreman. She or he is there to act as a vital resource to keep you safe, providing advice and assistance to successfully complete your project. While you are in the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild shop, you must wear OSHA-approved safety glasses with side shields at all times. Your regular glasses are not approved for use in any shop activity while you are at the Guild. The noise created in the operation of a surface planer might make you wear plugs or earmuffs. While not a safety requirement of the Guild, it is solely a personal decision. However, there is one caution on hearing protection. Our Guild's rules stipulate that any hearing protection worn by members must not have the ability to receive any type of broadcast media. Failure to follow this requirement may result in losing your shop privileges. Additionally, you should not wear any loose clothing or jewelry. Long hair should be tied back to prevent it from catching in the machine and drawing you into it, which can result in significant injury. Before surfacing any material on the thickness planer, The material must be flat and true on one face and not less than 12 inches in length. Flat material will have first been surfaced on a jointer or flattened by hand planing. A board not flattened and put through the planer will result in a board that is smooth, but that will mirror the warp, twist, cup, or bend to the other side of the board. You should examine your material and remove any loose knots from your board before planing so that they are not caught by the cutters and turned into projectiles when fed into the machine. Another solution to loose knots is that they may be locked into place by applying an epoxy resin to fill any gaps. However, application of epoxies will delay your planing operations until the epoxy completely cures. Any and all reclaimed lumber must be presented to the foreman on duty before machining to determine its suitability for use. It must also be thoroughly checked for any hidden nails or other metals with an approved metal detector. Treated green, yellow, or other ground contact lumber is banned from use at the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. These lumbers have been treated with chemicals that may have negative health consequences. Before starting, adjust the planer to a thickness that allows the boards that you are going to be planing to pass easily under the cutting head without removing any more than 1/32 to 1/16 of an inch of material. Always run wood through the planer with the grain running parallel to the length of the planer bed. Never plane across the grain or across an in-grain slab. This will almost certainly cause tear out, and it may happen in an explosive manner by damaging the planer and possibly injuring the operator. While planer kickbacks are rare, they are potentially violent. When feeding stock into the planer, always stand to the left or right of the feed table to be clear of any kickback should it happen. Extremely dry or brittle wood also has the potential to shatter and be ejected from the infeed side of the planer. If the board is thicker on one end than the other and jams in the machine, do not shut it off. Slowly crank open the height adjustment wheel until the board resumes feeding through the planer. Should the machine lock up and trip the circuit breaker, crank open the feed table until you can clear the jam and then immediately notify the foreman so that they can reset the breaker and you can resume working. If you need to plane any stock that is equal to or less than 3/8 of an inch thick, you must use a backer board. If the stock to be planed is equal to or less than 1/4 of an inch thick, it is too thin to be fed through any of our planers.
All right, you're on.
My name's Eric Hollenbeck, and I have Blue Rocks Millworks here in Eureka, California. And we have, oh God, damn, this is hard to say. We've been in business 50 years. I started this business 50 years ago. I was a baby. So if any of you have seen the Craftsman series, you know about Blue Rocks. And I just think that what you guys and gals have done is terrific. I don't know what I can add. I've been trying to think. I just don't know. I think you're doing great. I think you're doing superb. And I ain't real good at blowing my own horn, so maybe if you got any questions, we could start it that way.
Eric, give me just a second here. I gotta get we're having a hard time hearing the audio online, so give me just a second here. Let me get that figured out.
Is this on?
Nope, it's on my end.
I'm sure it's me.
No, you're good.
I've been married 46 years, everything is me. I totally get it.
It's the only one I know.
Okay. All right. I think that solved it, but we'll see.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, my name is Eric Scott's Millworks 50 years ago. And I don't know what I can add. I think you guys and gals are doing great. I just, I want to applaud all of you. I think that you're doing superb. But if we could maybe, and I ain't real good at blowing my own horn. You have to understand that. That's not my bailiwick. I'm a private, 101st Airborne combat private. Everybody in the world outranks me. Everybody in the world outranks me. So maybe if we could just start it out with questions, maybe that would help. I don't know. Yes, sir.
Eric, this is Charles Slagle.
Yes, sir.
My wife and I are great fans of your show, and I appreciate you doing that. It's very good. What I want to talk about is your prayer. It's very good, the Craftsman's Prayer. I would humbly request that you change the bottom, the last sentence to read, and above all, let me stay safe and joyous throughout this project. I'm a professional safety person for the last 45 years, and I guess I kind of put safety in there.
Look at this.
Good for you.
50 years. That's because I grow them back. The Veterans Administration doctors say, "Holy Christ, you I'm sorry, you heal fast." I said, "Well, in my profession, we weed out all the slow healers pretty early on." Yes, you got to keep your wits about you, don't you?
Yes, sir.
That, don't you think? Was your name Charles?
Yes.
Don't you think, Charles? That's the whole thing. Keep your wits about you. But by the same token, fear is a wonderful ally. A wonderful ally. We've been working with dropout students for 21 years now. Okay, these are throwaway kids. These are kids nobody wants. They said they got I don't know that stuff, ADA, whatever the hell it is. I don't have any idea, but you know what I'm saying. Well, I put their fingers 2 inches away from the bandsaw, and it's a 36-inch bandsaw, my friends. This is not a pony. This is a big industrial bandsaw. Or 36 inches, 2 inches away from the scroll saw, and I got a 36-inch Oliver. It's mammoth. It is an industrial Oliver, built in 28. The bandsaw is built in 48. And I tell them, cut it out. And I wouldn't put my finger there if I was you, but I could be wrong. You can try it. I could be wrong. And then I turn around and tell the instructors, the teachers, you show me the ADA or whatever the hell that's called, attention deficit disorder. Looks to me like they're paying pretty goddamn close attention, right? It's, yeah, I think that we cannot get complacent. Is that a right word? As long as we stay on top of the game with fear, same as Vietnam, as long as you can't let fear rule you, but you got to use that to stay on top of the game. Now, I certainly did not mean to discount what you do and what you're saying. Please understand that. All that I'm trying to do is add one more little piece of the puzzle.
Just humbly recommend that.
Thank you, sir. And you understand that I was not trying to, you know.
So Eric, this is Calvin. I've heard of your program, and a lot of people are familiar with your program. But could you just, for those of us, including me, that maybe not that completely familiar, just kind of walk through how you got started, what your business is like, what kind of things do you do? Just kind of explain that career in a nutshell.
I'm a high school dropout. You guys have heard the term, what don't kill you makes you stronger. Have you ever heard that? What does that really mean? Does it make you tougher? Well, maybe there's some of that in there. Does it make you smarter? There could be a little bit of that in there. Does it make you spiritually stronger? There's probably even some of that in there. What I think it does, I think the strength is it gives you empathy. Empathy. You guys know that word? Because you've walked a mile in them boots. And that's why I can work with these kids. I've walked a mile in them boots. I completely understand the difficulties that they're having. I still can't read. And I am well over 70. Well over 70. I ain't telling you how far, and I ain't copping to it, but I'm well over 70. You know, and that's probably why I got drafted at 19 years old. Because I was a high school dropout. I mean, I quit and went to work in the woods. I couldn't read, and they kept telling me I was stupid. Well, shit. I'm sorry, ladies. If I'm stupid, I'll just go to work in the woods. And that's what I did, and I got drafted, and I spent 352 days in combat in the jungles of Vietnam. So that's why I can work with the veterans, because I've walked a mile in them boots. I totally get it. So then I came back, and I came home. I hitchhiked home from getting out of the service from Oakland. I had never been in a big city a day in my life. And they let me out the front door at 1 o'clock in the morning. And they said, here's $6.13. And there's the front door, and have a nice life. And you ain't going to go very far with $6.13. But I was young, and that was fine. And I started hitchhiking. And this drunk guy in a white Cadillac, God, I will never forget it, picks me up. Oh, yeah, I know where Eureka is, and I'm going towards there. Well, he took me 40 miles south to San Jose. And I climbed over the cyclone fence, went to a Denny's, asked her, how much more is it to Eureka? She said, oh, no, kid, you went the wrong way. You have to climb over the fence, cross all the freeway, and go the other way. Okay, perfect. And finally, I got a ride, brought me all the way to my mom's house. And I was standing in my mom's kitchen at, I have a fly here that thinks I'm dead meat because I'm not moving very fast. At 5 o'clock at night on Saturday night, and I was 36 hours out of combat, 36 hours, and I went to work at 5 o'clock Monday morning. Same job I'd been in. They had the job waiting for me and everything. The point being is there was no downtime. You understand what I'm trying to say? And we didn't know nothing about shell shock, and we didn't know nothing about nothing. So that was fine. And I went to work for 2.5 years and then had a meltdown, quit, and then bummed around for a year. Tried to go to junior college because I could collect the GI Bill. I lasted 3 days. 3 days. The chasm was too great. I had seen and done things that the other young people, how the hell were they supposed to relate to me? And how was I supposed to relate to them? The chasm was too great. And so finally I went into the bank and asked for a $300 loan to start a logging company. And I started Blue Ox with a $300 bank loan. And I truly think that's a message that the young people have to hear today, that you can start with nothing, because I did. And then the bank sold us this piece of property for no money down because it was completely gutted and condemned to be torn down. The main building was here and that was it. And the bank came down and said, you take over the condemnation and $600 a month. That was a lot of money. You guys, in 1972, that was a potload of money. 1973, $600 a month, and you got 2 acres right on the bay, and it's yours. Well, we did it, and then I started collecting equipment, and it was not my wife's and I idea to build a museum. That was not in our game plan at all. It was just that we couldn't afford anything new. All we could afford was the old junk nobody wanted. And if it was free, or if I could trade for it, labor, it was my piece of equipment. If there was any money involved, it was somebody else's piece of equipment. That was those didn't equate, and and we've done that for 50 years now. And now people around the nation, I was going to say the community, but around the nation, see what we're doing, and now we're getting donations of new equipment. New equipment. There's a little Freudian slip. That from outside, but at first I had to go find it all. I found pieces in the blackberries. I found pieces in the old mill sites, pieces that I could get for free, and then refurbish them, pour new bearings. I've always been mechanical for some reason my whole life. I understand mechanical. Figure out how they work and then teach myself how to use them. That's the process. do I think everybody should do that? Hell no. Not in a million years. But I would like to say one thing. You guys were talking about all this stuff, grand stuff. My friend who built the Raven, do you know that you built the totem for loggers? In logging lore, the Raven is the souls of departed loggers. That's why they don't have a nice bird call, because they're flying through the woods screaming at the top of their lungs in this idiot voice saying, I can do your job a potload better than you can. So when you hear a raven in the woods, you raise your hand and go, I know, I get it. But you guys are talking about finishes. I have to light my pipe. Can I tell you a story about finishes? So we had a guild like you guys, not as big as you guys. God bless you. God bless you. I think you guys and gals are doing great. But we had a guild here in Eureka, and and they came down one time and asked if they could have their meeting here and do a tour. And I said, yeah, that wonderful. So they did. And I had just finished a piece with varnish that I made myself. And I was proud of it. It was a big deal to me. So the way I did it is that I know where there's 3 white fir trees, coastal white fir trees. They got in car wrecks. And the cars skinned them, knocked the bark off in these car wrecks. And they're bleeding trying to cover the wound. So I went out and I collected the pitch off of these 3 white fir trees. And I brought the pitch back and I had a cat food can. Okay, a tuna fish can. I had a tuna fish can of pitch, and it's got stuff in it. I mean, you know, you can imagine. So I put it on the electric stove thing, heated it up. And what you do is you heat it and it melts and you heat it and you heat it and you heat it. And all of a sudden it goes crystal clear. And it happens instantly. And when it goes clear, you grab it off of the stove because the very next step is you're going to burn it. And then it's junk. And this is experience talking. I found out later that there don't seem to be 5 degrees difference between them two. I mean, they're quick. So the minute it goes clear, then you scrape the ants and the bugs out of it, whatever. And then you take the volume of that and add 1/3 of the volume in beeswax. Melt that because it's still hot. Melt that together, mix that up, add 1/3 of that volume in linseed oil. So very little linseed oil. Melt that up, let that whole mixture cool, and then you add 1/3 of your finished volume in turpentine. which is a volatile oil. And when the volatile oil evaporates, it evaporates, it hardens the other oils. And I did that and showed the people, and the people said, "Oh man, that's really, really cool. How long did that take you?" I see the same looks on you guys' and gals' faces. How long did that take you? I said, "Well, let me see. Went out to the woods, scraped the pitch off, and bring it back. Boil. Probably a half a day. So it took you a half a day to make a cat food can of varnish. And when you can go to any store in the country and buy a whole quart for $3, what? That doesn't make any sense. And in one respect, that's absolutely right. But for that $3, my friends, you have just done one thing. You have traded convenience for knowledge. Because I know what's in my varnish. I know how to manipulate it. And in the varnishes at the store, you got what it says on the back of the can. This is how you use it. You see, if I'm trying to work with a piece of redwood 20 inches wide, that's a big piece of wood. That wood is going to expand and contract laterally 16th, 3/32 of an inch. That's a lot. So I know that then on my varnish, if I'm working with that, I have to increase the beeswax, which is the soft resin, decrease the hard resin of the white fir, and get a varnish that can move. So can I close this blind some? Are you guys okay if I?
Sure.
Sure.
We have a terrible day here, and we have the sun showing. Jesus Christ. Where in the world is our fog? Let's see. So we are 2 acres with we have a sawmill, 4-side molding machines, 2 of them. We have a blacksmith shop, a machine shop, a 10,000 square foot wood shop, a ceramic shop, a stained glass shop, and a foundry. And the newest piece of heavy equipment that we have is a 1948. A year younger than me.
Is any
so
of it belt driven?
All of it belt driven. It was all made to run off of steam. Yeah.
I spent a year down in Presidio, Monterey.
Yes, sir.
I was lucky. I'm Polish, and the Army decided to send me to go to Monterey to study Polish for a whole year. But I'm really curious about your work with the kids, with the students there. How you develop that and how that's going.
we fought with the, you have to understand, my wife knows school. She went to school. She's okay with school. Me, horse of a different color. And we tried and tried to work with kids. We worked with kids for 6 years unofficially, just helping them out. Good Lord. We're part of the community. And then it's called, in California, there's this hierarchy. There's the education, there's high school. I don't know what to call it. There's high school. You get kicked out of that, you go to continuation school. You get kicked out of that, you go to Zoe Barnum. The last rung of the ladder is called court-ordered community school. Okay, that's it. And those, I didn't tell you we have our own print shop too. And I'm going to get back to that in just a second. So those are the kids that we worked with. So the court-ordered community school, because these are throwaway kids. They could care less about it as long as they don't get in trouble. They're ducky. They could. OSHA never came down. Nobody ever came down. None. Zero. As long as they don't get in trouble, everybody just thinks they're ducky. In the print shop, for 19 years straight, we printed our own yearbooks and hardbound them. And those kids got to take yearbooks home. Between 20 and 30 kids a year, every year for 19 years. And we, Viviana and I paid for it. Blue Ox paid for it. So if you're looking to make money, that ain't the way that's going to happen. Finally, 3 years ago, our daughter stepped in and told us, you ain't paying for this anymore. And now we work with the other kind of high schools. I forget what they're called. Charter schools and the community school, but they have to pay now. But we did magnificent things with those kids. Absolutely magnificent. And we had our first reunion 10 years into it. We had 55 students show up from as far away as Portland, Oregon. Who was it said they couldn't quite get to Eureka here from Portland?
Yeah, that was me.
Portland, Oregon is a 6-hour drive north. San Francisco is a 5-hour drive south, and Redding is a 4-hour drive east. Nobody can get to Eureka. We are an appendix stuck on the state of California. So it's I totally get it. And we had those kids drive 6 hours from Portland. Or they're not kids anymore. Now they're young adults 10 years later. We had them drive 5 hours from San Francisco. We had them drive 4 hours from Redding. We had 55 former students show up, and we had every trade under the sun that you can imagine, including a priest that goes into prisons and talks to the inmates. We had a chef. We had roofers and pavers, and I'm talking guys and gals. concrete masons, we had stone masons, every trade you can imagine, except a woodworker. We didn't have one woodworker. Oh, well. Oh, gosh. And I think that I intimidated him. I didn't mean to, but I think what we do here at Blue Ox, and you guys can look at the website, blueoxmill.com. You'll see what we do. And I think that intimidated. I don't know what it was. Any other questions?
Will we see any more craftsman shows?
The industry right now is in a real upheaval. And yes, there's a strike and all that, but that's not the upheaval. The upheaval is that Warner Brothers 3 months ago bought out Discovery, HBO, CNN. CNN may fold. They just made this massive sweep and bought everybody out. I'm told that 4,300 people have lost their jobs in the last 3 months. So nobody knows what's going on. But for Magnolia, we did just do a 1 hour documentary. It's going to air on Veterans Day this year, 11/11 this year, on a World War II Higgins boat. Higgins boat is the one that pulled up to the shore and dropped its ramp, and the guys was a landing craft. And it was found in Shasta Lake, 3.5 hours inland from us. And when the lake went down, and it was General Patton, it was off the Patton ship. So keep an eye out for that one. That one's on Veterans Day.
Eric, can you tell us about the Fieldbrook Giant? Is that still a happening thing?
We have a cut, a 10-inch wide cross section cut across the tree of the Fieldbrook Giant, taken 70 feet up, and that cut is 16 feet in diameter. At the base, it was 32 feet in diameter. And we had 3 in this area. We had 3 really, really big tree areas. The microclimates were just idyllic for redwood. We had dang it, hold on, Hydesville, 20 miles south of us. We had the headwaters of Elk River, 4 miles south of us, and we had Fieldbrook that was 15 miles north of us. And those trees were gargantuan. And so I'd like to pose a question to you. You're the first guys and gals here. And you walk up to a 30-foot tree. How are you going to get it on the ground? Okay, magically, you figure it out. And by the way, I got the crosscut saw here, the 20-foot crosscut saw that did it. Okay, magically, you get it on the ground. It's 400 feet long. How are you going to move it? Okay, now you got a bucket into sections you can move, 16-foot, 20-foot sections. And then say you magically did all of that, where are you going to move it to? There's never been a sawmill in the history of mankind, in the history of the world. There's never been a sawmill to deal with this kind of timber. Where are you going to move it to? And the guys and gals in our community figured every one of those steps out. Pretty goddamn clever. That was amazing that we're an amazing species, folks.
Is there still a seedling that you guys were able to get from a cut?
Yeah, some company 5 years ago went back to the stump and was able to get the genetics from the stump, and then started, I think, five seedlings, and we got one, and it's growing in a planter right next to the slab outside. Yeah. So it's a genetic clone of the original tree.
Can you tell us anything about the Lincoln Hearse project?
When 2014, the city of Springfield, Illinois. Have you guys ever heard of that? Springfield, Illinois. By the way, I haven't got a clue in the world where Kansas City is. Not a clue. I'm so sorry, gentlemen and ladies. I apologize. Are you on the East Coast or what?
Right in the middle.
Oh, in the middle of the country, like Springfield is. Okay.
You cannot get further from any ocean than where we are.
I want to, if you'll remind me, I want to tell you a trick with epoxy. Okay. 2014, the city of Springfield called up and said, truthfully, I got to tell you the truth. They said, are you a veteran? I said, yeah. Are you a combat veteran? Yeah. We got the perfect job for you. We want you to do the impossible, and there's absolutely no money in it. Well, what was my first reaction? Oh God, sign me up, sign me up. And they wanted to build an exact replica of the Lincoln hearse, the hearse that carried Abraham Lincoln in 1865 to his final resting spot in Springfield, Illinois. And we did it. And we did it with 23 heavy combat veterans, never had a tape measure in their hand before a day in their lives. And it took us 1 year and 3 months. The veterans got paid because they got their GI Bill, and Viviana and I did it for free. And that you can go online and see the reproduction Lincoln hearse. We did the castings, we did the metal castings, we did the gold leafing. The only measurement that we had, because the original hearse burned up in 1885, and when it burned up, everything burned up. We don't know who made it. We don't know where it was made. But the railroad, when they brought the hearse to Springfield, wrote on a bill of lading, and somehow that bill of lading got saved. The rear wheels on this vehicle are oversized. They're 56 inches instead of the standard 50, 15 cents extra. And that one 15-cent line item gave us a scale. All of a sudden, I had one measurement, and I could scale everything off of that one measurement. There's one photograph in the whole world, in the entire globe. There's one photograph of the hearse. The last 8 months, remember this was a year and 3 months project. The last 8 months, every Friday night, no, that's not true. Every night, we would get our work done. I would send, today you can do pictures and you can email them, to 4 historians, 1 from Smithsonian, 2 from the Lincoln Museum, and 1 from the Staub Family Trust. They were the one putting the money up for all the materials. And then I would come in here 5:30 and go on the email, go on the computer, and the one of the historians who worked magic, and all of a sudden all of them are on the phone or on the computer screen, and they would have looked at the pictures, and I would bring myself in 2 beers. And the reason for that's coming right up. They would say, "Oh my God, you nailed it." Every detail. "You just nailed it. Oh my God." Or they would say, "We think that should be a 1/4 of an inch longer protrusion, don't you?" Because I would watch the day's work just fly out the window like a butterfly. That's where the 2 beers came in. So we did it, and you guys can go online. It's all documented. It's you can see it. We did all those castings. We rammed up sand molds, and I took those veterans to the scrap yard, and we got aluminum pistons from the scrap yard and melted them down and made ingots, and then remelted them, because once you got ingots, you got pure aluminum, and then remelted them and made all our castings for that hearse out. Yeah, that was quite a project. Any other questions?
Hold on a sec. So, I'm also a combat veteran of the 101st Airborne in Vietnam, and I'd like to know what year you were there.
1968, A Company, Ashaw Valley, Tet Offensive.
What battalion were you in?
A Company of 327.
You know, we probably met one another at one time, because that's exactly the unit that I was in. I was in B Company, C Company, and D Company. So.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I was a radioman. I was the RTO for 2nd Platoon. How I made it, you know, you were there. I ain't supposed to be here, but I did. And we had A Company, B Company, and D, I think. Didn't we? We didn't have a C, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did.
We and D Company got started about August of 1968.
Oh, it was okay. Okay. I just didn't remember right. And we would, you know, you guys, I'm sure, heard the same message as A Company, just ran into the shit. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, C Company just hit it. You know, every day, huh? Every day, my friend, you and I, yeah. Here's to you, and I want to tell you, welcome home.
No slack.
No slack, and welcome home.
There was an expletive in the middle of that, but that was our battalion motto.
Yeah. And it took 45 years for somebody to say that to me. Welcome home.
Yeah. No slack, friend.
No slack. Nope. Sorry, gentlemen, that was a little detour. Sorry. So it was a rabbit ran across the trail. Had to follow the rabbit there for a minute.
Eric, that was Jim who did our show and tell, who hosted the show and tell that was talking to you. Can't see him on camera, so.
So one last question, Eric.
Yes, sir.
We all want to come visit. What's the protocol?
You just show up. I don't have no. You just show up 9 to 4. If you come on at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock, we have this unbelievable tour guide lady, and she does a fully guided tour of the facility. And she shows you all of the buildings, including the Mulder building, where, did I tell you that we're the last ones in the U.S. make any size and any style of wooden rain gutter? And we do that on all 4 side molding machines, all 4 sides at one time. You hand it a 4x6 and rain gutter comes out the other end. If you're set up for rain gutter, you could be set up for siding. You could be set up, you know, but what I'm saying is that it does all 4 sides at one time. We make any molding, grind all our own knives, make our own knives to do it. So we match any pattern, and she shows all that. I'm sorry, another damn rabbit went across the road. Sorry, gang. Stupid rabbits.
I want to let you know my birthday is on Veterans Day, so if that's showing, I'll be able to see you that day. I will be looking forward to it.
Please do, because I hope, and it's in editing. Editing's the right word. It's in editing right now, and I got to tell you that the network and the production company are all, yeah, they're really excited about it. So I hope I pulled it off. I don't know. You don't have no idea. Just do the best you can.
It's probably too late for me to go back in time, but I sure would like to go back and be a problem child to have to come to school with you. I've really enjoyed the show. What's really fascinating to us is, you're working with huge pieces of wood. You know, the size we can't even comprehend, the equipment, different things. So that's very interesting. But it's, if you do more shows, really interesting things. Like we started out with woodworking by raiding the grandfather's garage for a tool here or there, and so you're always looking at that. So the more we get to see how you process those huge pieces of timber, but also those equipment. That square-headed molder that you have in there is amazing. And I've got another brother-in-law would just love to come out there, and we just root through your facility and look underneath everything to see all the interesting stuff. Would never
The
see
molding machines. I got 2 of them. One, the one that was shown on television in 1912, square head. And then I have a 1902 Woods. That one's a Hermance. And then I have a 1902 Woods that's bigger. It'll do 12 inches wide. And both of them are, you guys are you're gonna think I'm a damn idiot, and I am. They're run off of a Slant 6, a Dodge Dart, 1960 Slant 6 engine.
Did you find that hanging in a tree somewhere?
I bought it for $25 because it was being scrapped. I do believe I pay cash money though for it. I'm pretty sure I pay cash money. Maybe I got it on credit. I'm not sure. You know, that's a joke, but the point is that the young people don't get today is that you can start with nothing. And if you got blood, sweat, and tears and enough gumption, you can do it. You don't got to have the best or the newest of anything. All you got to do is figure out how to get the job done. Jeez, cripes. I'm sorry I got on that horse.
No, it's a good one to be on because, like the Lincoln wagon, if you'd have 15 engineers, all the CAD and all the new equipment, it would took you about 15 years to build.
Can I tell you a quick story about that?
Would love to.
The city of Springfield wanted a shop drawing. Yeah, okay. So I
give them an napkin.
Worked up a shop drawing and did the, and the way I did it, a smart guy could have done it different. He could have used math. I didn't know how to use math. What I did is I got me a scale because the photograph is not 90 degrees. The photograph's at about a 60-degree angle. So there's a perspective loss. So I got me a scale to work up and down 52 inches. And then I turned it sideways and on the same wheel and found out the same wheel's only 46 inches. Meaning I'm losing 6 inches in every 52 inches. So then I figured out how many 52 inches I got going down. That means I lose 3 inches and half of that. And that's how I scaled the dang thing. I did the shop drawing and sent it back to the Springfield. Well, unbeknownst to me, they sent the exact same problem to Ford Motor Company. And Ford Motor Company came up with, for free for the city, with drawings. And they sent my drawings and said, my God, you look, they both coincide. They're the same. That's great. And Ford Motor Company got back to Springfield and said, yeah, that's great, except we have a major problem with this. And Springfield said, what's that? We had a hell of a time, one hell of a time in CAD getting this to work out. And these drawings are in pencil. How the hell did he do that? So the city manager in Springfield said, oh, we don't know. He's this guy up in the northern woods of California, and he built a bonfire and sprinkled dust on it and turned around twice and said Om, and we don't know. Well, folks, I want to tell you, how great I think you're doing. I watch your projects. I saw your projects. Oh, can I tell you? Can I tell you a trick with with two-part epoxy? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. You guys probably have different than I know of. I just know of one called Envirotex, and when you put it on, it looks wet all the time. It looks like it's got an 1/8 inch of plastic on it all the time. It's a plasticized finish. But on a product like the president's table that I made for President Clinton out of redwood, redwood's too soft. You have to use something like this. You have to. Otherwise, your fingernail's going to ding it. Anything's going to ding it. It's too soft. So we're stuck with it. Then I found out that you can take this A and B, mix it together, but okay, mix it together, stupid rabbit. The way that they tell you, 2 minutes, and then cut it 50% with alcohol, but it has to be 90% or better alcohol. It has to be straight up alcohol, not none of that 70% stuff. 90% or better. And it turns it into water. Now you slop that on, and I mean slop it on. Soaks right in the wood. It's gone. Let it go off. Takes 24 hours. Let it go off. And then bump sand it because you stood all the grains up, right? Bump sand it. 80 grit. I mean, just bump sand it. Nothing important at all. Then mix up another batch, A and B, 2 minutes. Now cut it 25% with alcohol, 90% or better. Turns it back into water again. Pour, wipe that on, pour it on, brush it on, whatever you do. Let that go off. Now you can finish sand it down to wood, and you can put any finish you want on top of it. You can oil it, you can, any finish, because what you've done is that you've driven that epoxy down into the cells of this soft wood. Oh, you guys got pine. Okay, try and make a table out of pine. Now you know what I'm saying, right? Okay. You've driven that down into the cells and you've plasticized the cells. Now you can put any finish you want on, and that table's going to hold up fine. But you can't do it when it's hot. So you guys got to have two things going for you that I have all the time: high humidity and cool weather. Otherwise, the alcohol flashes too fast. Okay? Something to try. Okay, gang.
Well, Eric, this has been great. It's been awesome to have you. Thanks for sticking around. And this took a little bit longer, but it was also, from my perspective, very, very worth it to hear you talk and tell your stories. And thank you and Jim for your service. That was cool. I'm surprised we all didn't get up and give you guys a salute. and that was awesome. And just really appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for what you've done for your community there. And just thank you on behalf of the Guild for being with us today. So thank you.
And thank you in the back, my no slack friend. Okay. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight, and go out, be safe. Feel free to help clean up. Now, give us a couple minutes. I think Chris has a cord over there he wants to deal with first before we start jamming the chairs back behind the curtain. But y'all have a great night, and until we meet again.
A special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and to all of our sponsors. For more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.